My name is Chloe, and today I'm here to talk about all the books that I read last week. So, last week and this week and everything, I just feel like I'm hitting a lot of duds. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the books. I'm really feeling the urge to DNF, and I'm not really reading off my shelves, which is a problem. It is a problem. However, the exception to that is middle grade. So, let's talk about the middle grade books, and then we'll get into the adult books, and we'll just chat about how this week went. So, my kids and I read The World According to Humphrey and Friendship According to Humphrey. And this is the start in a big series about Humphrey, who is a classroom hamster. And in this first one, we're just learning about the classroom, learning about Humphrey. And then in this one, the class gets a frog. And so he's trying to figure out friendship with the frog because the frog's not very friendly. And there's a big theme of friendship, grace, understanding other people, being compassionate. And we're really enjoying this series. We're actually listening to these on audio while we do puzzles. And because one of my sweet patrons just sent us 3 more puzzles. And so we have got puzzles on puzzles and we are just loving it. So we are listening to these. My daughter also is playing soccer, like a ways from us. It's like an away game kind of far in a different town. And so we can listen to these in the car, and they're really wholesome. I would definitely pass these on to my kids to read by themselves. Yeah, really enjoying this. Then I read a graphic novel called Knots by Colleen Frakes. And this is about a girl who is wanting to look different. Her parents have always had her hair short, and she doesn't like that. She wants long blonde hair. So she takes it upon herself to try to bleach her own hair. And it doesn't work out, but we're learning so much about this girl, and just her family moves a lot, and so there's just a lot going on in her life and a lot of upheaval. Her mom and sister end up moving away because of job situation. So mom and one kid go one place, dad and this other girl stays in the other place. And so there's a lot of like existential crises kind of going on in her life, and her hair is just kind of like a manifestation of that, and just how she doesn't feel seen. And I felt this was so good. I really loved this. It's not a long one, but I found myself like caring and thinking about this family when I wasn't reading it, and I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So there's that. Then me and the kids read Across the Pond by Joy McCullough, and this one's kind of hard to rate. So this is about a girl whose family inherits a castle in Scotland, and so they go to move into this castle. Their family has not had the greatest financial situation, all of that. So they're at this castle in Scotland, and she really just wants to be homeschooled. She is not a fan of socialization, all that, and her parents are like, okay, we'll homeschool you, but you have to do like one social thing. And so she joins a bird watching club at the library, and the coach, teacher, whatever of that is very sexist and awful. And so she kind of stands up for herself, and she's like, hard pass, not doing that. So she gets kicked out of the club, and she doesn't tell her parents, which is not like, she continues to lie and say she's going to this bird watching club so she can continue to be homeschooled. And I didn't love that. Otherwise, this book, there's another girl about her age that lives on the property because her grandpa is the groundskeeper, and we learned some stuff about this other girl that is just enlights a compassion in our main character that was really great, and they team up. There's found friendship, found family, all that kind of stuff in this. My complaint about this is it is pretty long, and I mean, it's definitely no pictures, definitely more of a read loud thing. The words are kind of clunky, like reading it out loud, there were a couple times I'm like, oh, what? And the chapters are super long. But there's also interspersed little diary entries from the like owner of the castle originally, and well, maybe and her experience during World War II. And so there's that going on. I really liked this in some ways. Like, I would have enjoyed this much more as just a book that I read as opposed to a read aloud, because like I said, the long chapters, the kind of clunky wordage of things, and just how long it took us to get through this was kind of a deterrent. But it's an interesting story. If bird watching is a thing you're into, this is a great one for that. So kind of recommend. I gave it a 3-star. Then let's see, I read one more on NetGalley. I think it's called Growing Up Beth. And this is told in verse, and it is just like 10 or so episodes of this girl's life. I didn't really care for it one way or the other. It was not, I mean, it was a little crass at times, a little just like nonsense. Like it didn't have like an overarching theme or plot that I could really dig out. And so it was very fine. Yeah, I don't care about that. Anyway, next, let's go into the adult reads. So I'm going to break some hearts probably when I say this, but I DNF'd Miss Julia Takes Over. And this is number 2 in the Miss Julia series. And I DNF'd it at like 40% of the way through. Not because it's bad, but because it was another book that I found myself, if I set it down, I didn't care to pick it back up. When I was listening to it, it was fine. But it's just not my typical genre. So this is a kind of southern, atmospheric, just cozy up with this character kind of series. And some people love that. I just needed a little more plot. So this book, the first book is Miss Julia gets this kid brought to her door, and it's her late husband's. Her late husband and some other woman had this baby. Well, he's like, I don't know I can't remember how old he is, but have this kid. And so she takes in this kid and gets to know the mom. The mom kind of comes and goes. And now in this one, the mom is missing. And so at 40%, we were still just kind of trying to figure out where this mom went. Is it something sinister? Did she just kind of up and go? What happened to this mom? And it's like, I can see why people love this series. If you are into kind of like the Mitford series or things like that, where it's just kind of, you're just cozying up in this town with this family and this kind of quirky cast of characters, then I think you may love this. For me, it's a 3-star series for me. It's not bad by any means, but it's something that I can spend my time on and then just be like, that was fine. And so I'm going to get rid of this as well as the entire series. That I have the first 8, I think. And so I'm going to clear this off my shelf. Again, not because it's bad, but because I am not into it at this time right now. So then I read a lot of things that I don't have physically. Really Very Crunchy by Emily Morrow. So I don't follow Emily Morrow on social media because I really am not on social media very much. But I guess she has a big presence there. And this is it's like an introduction to being crunchy. And I would say I'm a semi-crunchy mom. I always like have crunchiness in mind, but also practical. And her whole like premise is how to like detoxify your life without like adding toxicity to your personality. So not to get like so stressed out about it that, whatever, but I can't compartmentalize like that. I can't have people tell me like things are toxic and then not get like stressed out about it. And so this book was a bad idea. It was a bad idea for me because it triggered me in a lot of ways where I'm like, oh no, my daughter's wearing polyester. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Or like, all the things. And her premise was that, just small steps towards whatever version of crunchy you want to be. Crunchy is a pendulum, like it's a spectrum. I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of. And so wherever you want to fall on that is great. And here are some things you can do to easily kind of detoxify your life. And yeah, for me, I can dive real deep down that rabbit hole. And so I learned a couple things, but also spiraled more than it was probably worth. So there's that. Then, ironically, moving next into Tame Your Thoughts by Max Lucado. So I have this one on NetGalley also, and it just came out in August, so it's already out. But this is about just taming your thoughts, being aware of the thoughts that are coming in and making them obedient to Christ, and not letting lies infiltrate your brain, not letting you deviate from the path of becoming more Christ-like. I mean, that's our ultimate goal. And so this one is nothing revolutionary, nothing I haven't heard before, nothing like exceptional for me, but it was a great reminder, and a great reminder that like every thought that enters your head, you don't have to give that time and attention. You can say thanks, but no thanks. And if you don't know how to do that, like to physically combat that with scripture, and so the importance of memory verses and things, which is such a good reminder as I'm working on them with my kids, and just reminders that like it's so easy to fight it with scripture if you've already got those verses memorized. And yeah, so this one, the book didn't really talk about like memorizing scripture, but the whole point is just really relatable, practical ways. I don't think it would be as helpful. Like he does address some addiction, some anxiety, all that kind of stuff. And when you're really in the throes of a spiral, I don't know that this would be the most practical, because it kind of does fall into that, like, just have a greater faith and your anxiety will be better. But that's a really hard, like, he wasn't condescending in any way. It just is a really hard line to walk when you're having a faith-based anxiety book where ideally, yes, your faith will conquer all things. But, you know, I think if you're in a decent place, reading this book is great. So there's that. And then let's see. We've got 2 more books that I am not going to really talk about. I read Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. You will find out my thoughts on this book on Wednesday of this week because I have a vlog. And same with Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. So stay tuned for Wednesday to see my thoughts on those. So that's everything that I've read for the week. I'm not feeling slumpy, but I'm feeling like a little panicked, honestly, because it's September 13th and I have read not very many books off my shelf this month. And I really want to be reading books off my shelf. And so it's frustrating that I'm not. So I'm going to kind of switch gears, and I'm really in the unhaul mood. So we'll just see what happens. But current reads, me and the kids are listening to number 3, Trouble with Humphrey by Betty Burney. And then physically, we're reading number 2 in the Kicks series, Sabotage Season. So the fact that this has loser on the cover, I'm wondering how this is going to go. But both my kids are playing soccer, one of them pretty competitively. And so these are really fun to read during soccer season. They are about a middle school team. And so I would say it's at, you know, a higher reading level. And this is a series that I have kind of, you know, my kids are 7 and 5 and that I read this to. And so I censor it just a smidge. But if you're curious about that. And then for myself, I'm reading By Your Side by Casey West, because you guys, when I'm feeling slumpy or unmotivated to read, or like I'm just not liking anything, I need one of my OG reliable YA authors. So I'm reading this, and you guys, gosh, it's just huge. I love YA for like a palate cleanser. And then I'm also reading Me Without You by Kelly Rimmer. I'm reading this physically. This has painfully long chapters, and so I'm reading it physically. But like I was not ever you have to finish at the chapter kind of gal. However, I definitely am that person now, and so getting like time to read a whole chapter when they're like 30 pages, 40 pages long is like yikes. But we're 107 pages in, so we'll get there. So that is everything that I read this last week. Let me know what the best thing you read was, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.